right, welcome back to the Jeff Heggie Show. Today, I'm excited to introduce someone that's actually been a guest with me before. It's the first time I've actually brought someone on for a second time, and I'm actually really excited to have this conversation today. I want to welcome Bart Miller. I'll tell you a little bit about Bart, but Bart, I'm going to let you give your introduction. But Bart has done it all. I was introduced to Bart through Tyson Durfee. A lot of the rodeo background we have in similarity, but he's done it all from the corporate world to the entrepreneur world and so much in between. But today, what I want to talk about is, I consider Bart to be one of my best friends, but I also consider him my accountability coach. And that's where we want to have a lot of our conversation today. And so, Bart, do yourself some justice and give a better introduction.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. And I always find myself, like, when you do introductions, it's like, it's just like you're not supposed to brag, but you're supposed to brag type of thing, but I have been super blessed. But the one thing I found in my life is that I come from a very poor background, but I learned really good principles. And what I mean by that is both of us were raised around horses and animals. And what I found is that my animals, my horses, my livestock doesn't care if I'm sick, if I have a meeting. They don't care. All they care about is I show up in the morning and I show up at night to make sure that they're fed. Because, if nobody does that, what happens to them is they die. Right. And so it taught me a principle, even though when I was younger, I would have never expected it to be the one thing of success. But it taught me no matter what, I've got to show up for them. And they depend upon me, and I know that's a crazy way to look at it through animals, but it's just the way I was. I've never known myself from when I was a little boy where I'm at today that I haven't had animals that depend upon me and could care less if I have a stomach ache, if I had a worst day of my life. They really just don't care. They want me to be there from those time periods to get them fed, or they want me to assume the responsibility of making that happen for them. And so anyway, in my introduction, that's the one thing that I come from a very driven background. I worked hard on a farm, ranch, then I got into business, love business a lot, and I learned a lot of good principles in business. And from there, I've been lucky enough to have multiple 2 Comma Club awards, a 10X award through Russell's ecosystem, and be with some of the top internet marketers in the world. And when I'm with those top internet marketers, I always find a very common theme amongst us all, which is you got to show up. And action takers are money makers. And when you take action and you really go forward, big things happen. And people tell me all the time, which is the most common thing I hear in the space I'm in, is I'm accountable. I'm okay. I don't need something like this. And I'm always like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. But what you don't realize is that even though you're accountable, you don't have a group of people around you that hold you accountable at a higher level. You don't have the horses and the cows that need fed every day. And so what happens is even though you're accountable, it's like, today I just don't want to feed the horses. Well, it doesn't work. When you have to show up for a call and you're the CEO of the company and nobody else is saying, hey, Jeff, did you get your stuff done today? It's easy to say I'm accountable. But when you got a whole group of people saying, hey, Jeff, yesterday you said you're going to do this, and you have to say, well, this came, so you got a bunch of excuses. Okay, cool. Well, Jeff, can you get that done tomorrow? Well, it makes a difference. Like you don't believe it, but it does. And so anyway, I don't want to get too far off of what you asked, but I've got 4 amazing kids, a beautiful wife, been married 28 years. I've got a daughter that's married. I've got a son that lives in Hawaii. I've got another daughter that lives in Utah. And I got a young boy that lives at home right now. And he's 13 years old. And we've just been super blessed. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And professional pickleball champion. We'll go into everything. But there's a few things that you talked about in there that I just want to add to. One, you kind of brushed over, and there's a lot of people that'll listen to this that know what it means. But you said just briefly, multiple 2 Comma Club awards, 10x. Explain what that means from a business standpoint.
Yeah. So in the ClickFunnels ecosystem, you have to do $10 million through one funnel to get what's called a 10x award. And luckily we've done that. We did it in the RV space, which is really, really cool. Super blessed to be able to have done that. And then I own multiple companies. I own a makeup school. It's private labeled for every Paul Mitchell school. Super blessed, super grateful for that relationship. We got a 2 Comma Club award there, which is you get $1 million through one funnel. And then another funnel we did that through was called a camper leveler funnel. And we did that. And then I did one through my coaching, which is called I Do Epic. And so we've got one there. So multiple times we've been super blessed to do $1 million through one existing funnel and create some abundance and wealth through that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And congrats on that. And I really appreciate all the mentorship you've been to me because of all of that. And, coming up, what is it? We're not next month. I know you're going to be getting another one. So congrats on that one coming up. As you were talking about that, and maybe this will be a way to lead into our conversation, really, talking about the animals and them depending on you, as you're talking on that, it kind of made sense of the cows still need to be fed, explaining a little bit about that. And for what I'm talking about there, for those that are on the video, you can see what I just held up, but you've also got a book coming out shortly. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm in the middle of writing a book. It's been quite a journey for me, because if you've ever wrote a book, it takes a lot of accountability, first of all, but it also makes you visit things that you probably don't want to visit anymore. You got to go back and think about your life, where you were, some of the things that were really tough struggles. And if you're listening to this, I know that you know what I'm talking about. And sometimes putting that out to the world and being transparent isn't easy, because that it's sensitive to a lot of people that you love, and including your family, friends, things to that nature. And it can affect a lot of relationships. But at the end of the day, it's just something that you've got to do if you want to be transparent in your life and allow people to see what drove you to be where you're at today. And so, yes, I'm in the middle of a book. You saw the title of it there. The cows still need fed, because I believe that a lot of people today forget that the cows need to be fed. And so, we don't teach our youth, we don't teach ourselves that every day, it doesn't matter if it's Sunday, it doesn't matter if it's Saturday, you don't get a day off. Like, there's no such thing as a day off. Like, they just have to be fed. And when you're brought up that way, you just learn that that's okay. But if you're not brought up that way, you get in a kind of different mindset. So for me, it's always been, when things get tough, it's like, it could be a lot worse. I could be moving pipe today. And if you've never moved pipe, you'll know, but if you have, you'll know what I'm saying. It's freaking hard work. I know what that's like. And I can instantly go back there and say, man, I can make 10 more phone calls pretty easy today. This is pretty awesome life I live right now. Not that I hate that, not that I'm not willing to do it, but at the end of the day, it just gives you a lot of things to put things in perspective, that the cows still need fed every single day. And if you'll do these certain things, you'll crush it.
Now, at the beginning, when I was introducing you, I mentioned you being my accountability coach. You've talked a lot about accountability. Talk about why accountability is so important to you and why you took the step to bring it to other people.
Yeah. So I remember that I joined a group, and I really wanted to be part of this group because of the networking. There were some key individuals that I thought, man, if I can do business with them one day, life would be great. So I really joined. They called it an accountability group, but I really joined because of the networking, and the accountability was just part of it. And I remember the very first call, we all put in $1,000 a month. So by the end, it was $12,000. And whoever didn't show up 85% of the time lost their money, which means you didn't get any of the reward, which I'll get to here in a second. of being able to go at the last. We all saved that money and went on a trip together. So we took a portion of that money for all those months, and then we were able to use it on our trip if we showed up, and your trip was 100% paid for. If you didn't, you had to make up all the extra money for that trip, because basically you were committing to the trip at the end of the year, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a celebration trip, right? So we had it all figured out how if we stayed and everybody did 80%, it would all be paid for each and every one of us. If we didn't, you had to make up your portion, and that extra money went to the others to go have fun and play on. And so it just got a little gamified deal that we put together. And I remember showing up in that group, and I remember those guys being like riveted, like super like riveted on what they were going to get done that day. And this is only a 10-minute phone call. It was just like, we got on, we got shit done, and we got off. You know, it was no BS and no playing around, because we were all super busy. And I remember how much progress I made that year. Like, I really crushed it. And then the next year, we ended up not doing the group because 2 of the people in the group got super sick and some things happened, and it kind of dissolved the group. And from there, I started to commit to signing up for things like a bike race. And then I'd say, okay, I'm going to do this. Then I'd go tell my audience and do all these things. And that's what I turned my accountability into was, you know, if you don't sign up for the thing, you're not going to get there. So I'd be accountable to, let's say, racing the Leadville 100. And that kept me motivated, kept me going. Or I would commit to, I'm going to do a bodybuilding competition and do that kind of stuff. And I started watching other people and how they kept themselves accountable. And then I was talking to my son, and he was just basically like, Dad, why don't you just keep us all accountable on a couple of these calls? And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, people have to put skin in the game. I don't want it to be super expensive. But if people pay, they pay attention, because that was me. You know, I wanted to go on that trip at the end of the year. So I was like, I'll commit because I want to do this. And I wanted to get to know these guys. And the other part that I found, just a side note, is when people were vulnerable that I looked up to, it made me love them more and I wanted to help them more. And in these calls, I was hearing things and I was like, don't tell anybody, but I'm struggling with the same thing. Like, I had no idea, you know, like, holy crap, that's, you know, like, ah! And it really bonded us as friends still to this day, you know. So anyway, side note of that. But when you're transparent and you're able to be on these type of calls with people that are going through the same thing, they're running companies or building companies, you all of a sudden find a tribe that your wife, your kids, things like that don't understand. And it's easy to vent really quickly and feel very validated, or reach out to one of them afterwards, and you don't feel alone. You don't feel alone, right? So you find a community. So anyway, back to this, we did that. I started to see these other successes. So I developed a program. I don't like to call it accountability, because most of you think you don't need accountability. And you know, I get it. I still do call it that, but I really look at it as a networking and a connect share opportunity, but we help each other through connecting, grow our ecosystems, grow our lives, grow our businesses, because we're all doing the same things. And I guess we get to struggle together, or we have success together, all the above. So it's an abundance mentality together.
You know, just building on that abundance mentality and the people you surround yourself with, talk about the difference between just making commitments to yourself, even writing down your accountability in your journal or something, versus doing it as a group like this. And then I want to share an experience about being a part of your group.
It's really good. So the one thing is when you write your stuff down and you share it with a group, our words are our wand. Like, so when you speak it, that's what tells the universe what you're doing. But if you do that with passion, with knowing it and seeing that with the entire group, it's just so powerful, because the group gets to help you see that, be passionate about it, and want that for you. And it's just really interesting that in 30 days of doing this, and by speaking what you really want, how it changed your life. And I can tell you 99% of my group, people will say, what do you do? And they'll say, can I tell you my why first? because they figured out their why. And so many of them, when they first get on a group, do not know honestly why they exist, why they're getting themselves out of bed every day. They just know they're doing it. They're just doing actions, but they don't have a passionate why. If somebody held the gun to their head and said, why are you doing this? They don't know. But when they figure that out, miracles happen in their life. They start to speak this into fruition. Things start to happen. They get very passionate about it, and other people get passionate with them and for them.
Before I go on to what I wanted to add on to that, I love that you brought up the whole why, because starting every call with stating your why, I think, is really powerful. But one of the things that I thought was really powerful is how many people came into these groups knowing their why and realizing they didn't really know their why. Because I mean, for even myself, I had my why, and then you and I got on a call and worked through it, and I figured out, there's a deeper why.
Yeah.
So one of the, talking about these accountability groups that you have, so many things, the networking, all that, but the whole accountability, I just want to add a little bit of my experience when we first started those groups. I remember one day getting on the call and stating what I was accountable for that day. And it was a certain number of outreaches I had to do. And my day after that call, my day went totally a different direction than I had planned. And it was a good day, productive day, got so much done. And I got to the evening and I thought, you know what? I didn't do anything I said I was accountable for, but man, it was sure a good day. I got all this other stuff done. But then I thought, you know what? Because I was on the call, I think it was at 6 a.m. my time. Like, there's no way I'm getting on that call with Bart and the rest of the group tomorrow and saying I didn't do it.
There you go.
So I still, even though I had justified it, I was like, no, I got to sit down. I got to do these things I committed to this morning. So being accountable to others outside of yourself is you don't have the ability to justify saying, I don't need to do that because I did this instead.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that. And I remember some of those calls with you, and I remember you saying, man, this really has been a game changer for me doing these outreaches and this and that. And that all started from other conversations within the groups, because one of the things I challenge people to do on Fridays is to do 5 texts out to just anybody, random 5 texts. I don't care who they are. And I tell a little story, and you'll understand it if you're in one of the groups, but it's a really critical thing for me, because I feel like if I can have, let's just say 100 people sending out 5 texts, how much do we change that many people, right? And how do we change the world? In my opinion, it's by showing people gratitude and, how much we recognize them and see them. And it's like Mary Kay Ash said, every little person has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. And through doing that, we can literally change people's lives. So I think, that kind of stemmed from that. And all of a sudden your outreach was just like, people were just like, holy crap, Jeff sees me. And I remember you talking about that. And it was just so cool, because it's so true. They get to see a new you. But it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you recognized that. I didn't even know you saw that on Facebook. Thank you for mentioning that. And it makes them feel so good.
And that's the cool thing about your groups is, you mentioned it, these are quick, short calls, each person maybe a minute or whatever. Yep. But there's so much more to it than just the accountability, because you've got the focus on the why, you've got the accountability, you've got things like on Fridays when you'd say, do the 5 texts in such a short amount of time every single day. And that is another part. People are like, well, I do this every day. Yeah, it's every day.
5 days a week.
The cows need to be fed.
Amen.
and it's so much more impact than what you can get from anything else spending 10 minutes a day doing. So a lot of appreciation for that.
Oh, you're more than welcome. The thing I find about it too, Jeff, is you already know, is like, for the amount of money that you're in the group, most people don't need more information. They need more implementation. So it's like I really find when they're in the groups, it's like they figure out that like, oh man, I just need to implement. I need to be an action taker. And when I start taking action, I understand on Monday what I'm going to state for that week, and I speak it into the universe. I speak it into existence. And then every day I work on that and I knock that little domino over. All of a sudden this week was like, I crushed it. Well, a month of that, imagine that in your business, especially going into fourth quarter, when literally every week you've got it lined out. You've got a group of people behind you. But let's just say, for example, my daughter, I bring her up because I do this every year. Coming into fourth quarter, she's got a candle business. So when she gets on there and she starts talking about that, well, how many people in the group are instantly like, I want to support Mercedes. She's part of our ecosystem. So she gets business from it, not what she's intended, but she makes way more money by being a part of the group, by being recognized in the group, than she ever would without being in it, because of the networking and the support, and everybody sees the frustration and they see how many candles she's making, even though they're adding to that list, but they see how happy she truly is to see her business growing, and they get the results of that. And like last year, we had like, I think right close to 20 people that all had a candle on their call and were burning their candle, and it was part of that. And that was just such a cool thing for me to see, how many things. And anyway, it was just awesome. So thank you.
Well, and to add to that as well, the whole networking, for me, the cool part was being in one of those first groups. Here I was every day on a call with guys that are in the inner circle.
Yeah.
That are doing the
30 of them right now, Jeff.
Funnels.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. And so that networking alone is incredible. But I remember, one day being on a call, and I had a terrible cough. I wasn't sick, but I could not get rid of this cough. And, a couple of days later, all of a sudden I get a package from Justin Benton, and it's some of his CBD stuff. Yeah. And it worked. And so I actually ended up referring a lot of other people to him. So it's a great way to, his generosity to me brought him more business because I've referred him to so many people.
That's so cool.
So the networking is amazing.
The networking is, it's worth every second of it, because when you think about how many people in the Facebook group, and they're all looking to help each other because they're friends, and then like you can be in one group for a month and then switch times and be in another group and network with a whole bunch of other people if you want to. And there's multiple groups to do that with. So it's really fun. But really the big thing for me is if people can get out of their own way, get in, play full out, I can change their life literally in a 10-minute call in 1 month. And they just won't want to leave, and that's why I just know if I can get them to commit and understand that it's not about more information, it's about implementation. It's about figuring out your why, sticking to your why, and it's about dedicating yourself to show up and feed the cows every single day. They will see major things happen in their life.
We, as we wrap things up in a bit, we'll make sure to share everything. But first of all, just because people listening right now, they're like, well, okay, I want to know more. How do I find out more about this? So share that, I guess, to begin with.
Right. So the biggest way to find out is go to idoepicaccountability.com. That's where that's at. Now, if you're coming in, you want to network with a bunch of inner circle people and stuff like that, let us know when you fill out your application, and we can kind of help you point you in a group of, kind of what you're looking for. But we have everybody in here I've got 2 clients that are working on weight loss. I've got clients that are working on e-commerce. I've got clients that are working on their continuity program. I've got now, which is interesting, 4 brick and mortar companies that are in there doing different things in their local geographic area, but holding themselves accountable to what they're doing. So we've got a really, really good, diverse group. Names you may know, like Jim Edwards, shows up every single day on the accountability calls. Absolute stud, plays full out. Anyway, I could name a ton, but it's just really awesome. So
that just gave me a bit of a flashback to that. That's the other part is, I was talking about the generosity of everyone in these groups. I remember being in one of our accountability calls, and someone had something that Jim's like, 2:00, let's get on a call. And every one of us got on a call. And that was one of the best training sessions I've ever been through in my life. That was amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, Jim just said, "Hey, I'm willing to do this," and I'm like, "Well, do you care if the group jumps on?" He's like, "No." And so all of us got a benefit from Jim doing that session for us, and everybody benefited. And yet, the reason he did that, I mean, we couldn't have paid Jim. I mean, we could have, but you know how much that would have cost for the entire group to do that. But the reason he did it was Ty Anderson. I don't know if you remember, but it was Ty Anderson in there and his CBD product. And Jim just poured into Ty, and Ty's a young entrepreneur growing a really cool business in the rodeo and horse space. Jim saw that, but as a mentor, didn't say what's in it for me, but he said, "Hey, what's in it for them that I can bless their life and take them to the next level?" And it was just such an amazing testimony of leadership to see happen. And then through that, he blessed a whole bunch of other people's lives.
Yeah, it was awesome. Speak, also just share a little bit more about your coaching and the events that you host.
Oh, yeah. So most of my events they're off in some cool place. Like this last time we rented a place called Mountain River Ranch. It was a Western setting here in Idaho. We rented all the cabins out. So we had 35 cabins, and then people could stay on location. It was total immersion. And then I brought in key individuals that were, I would say, really motivational speakers. So I brought in a gentleman named Mike Hill, which is a legend in the internet marketing space. If you've never known who he was the one that created a group called Internet Marketing Super Friends, which was the largest Facebook group of internet marketers ever existed, still probably is to this day. And he was literally one of the first ones to ever make $1 million online in the internet marketing space. So we had him at our last event. We had a gentleman named Brian Delaney at our last event. We also had a guy named Chris Crone, which is the hat I'm wearing today, actually. Chris flew his jet in and spent 4 hours with our people and mindset and helping them. We actually all went out and broke arrows on our throat together. And so we could get rid of limiting beliefs. We had a campfire every night. We went and sat in the hot tubs together. We just enjoyed each other's company so much in a very, I don't know, just remote type of environment. But my whole thing is Jeff, if I'm transparent with you, almost all of them were through the accountability calls. They all get on the calls and are like best friends, and they want to actually meet together. So they come to an event like that. And then at that event, they get to actually see each other in person, hang out with each other, be totally immersed, and have an experience that just doesn't exist anywhere else. We were able to talk about business and how to really strategically do things and, really move the needle. In fact, Jim Edwards spoke at that too. Jim was there. Josh Latimer was there. I mean, we just had a real powerhouse lineup. And the reason it's so fun for me to do that is because I see a whole group of people that have one thing in common. Because if you look at my groups, and Jeff will tell you this, my groups are people that are poor as a church mouse to people that are as wealthy as can be, and there's no judgment. We had a young man there. His name was Xander, and Xander was 20. I think, don't quote me, Xander, if you see this, but 22, and just starting his SEO business. He has not been making a lot of money. But he made it there. Okay. So he got there, committed to doing it. So we had him. We also had Maggie Cook there. Maggie exited the company for $234 million. First event she's ever attended was my event. Okay. She exited the company for $234 million. Here you got somebody that's not made anything. Yet somebody that's $234 million. They both walk out being best friends and have a lifetime relationship all together, because the way I do it is we're all in there together. We're all in this together, so it was just amazing to watch the community. We actually did make an offer at that event, and It was teaching people, Jeff, how to overcome limiting beliefs in themselves. And one of the number one ways I've ever found to do that in my life is obviously accountability and networking, but two is creating a new alter ego. And I taught everybody through multiple examples how if Norma Jean could have done everything she wanted to do, she would have never created Marilyn Monroe. You know, if Spider-Man could have done everything he wanted to do, why did he have to have an outfit? Why did Peter Parker have to create Spider-Man? You know, we see the example all over the place, but no one's ever taught people how to literally go through and rewrite their new attractive character, their new, and I call it your magnetic self. How to create that magnetic self, how to reposture it, how to rename it, and then how to bring that to the world. So I was just in Vegas for a week, and I had people flying in from all over the place, and we were real styling, redressing their new magnetic character. So they had their new name, they had their new magnetic self, and then we're going to fly to Dallas, and we're going to do headshots with every one of them, and they're going to have new headshots for that, and they're going to introduce themselves as their new attractive magnetic self at Funnel Hacking Live. And so we're taking them through an entire process, but every one of those people are in the accountability and networking groups because they wanted to be in that group together and hold each other accountable to making this happen. Because when you change yourself, it's not always easy to come out and say, my new name is really this. This is what I'm on the stage. This is who I am. When I'm on a webinar, this is it. Here's my new totem that I have to have that puts me into this character. You know, all those things that they learn. But we did that, and it's been, you can ask any of them. We had multiple trainings teaching them how to get there, but it's been a life transforming thing for them. And so thank you for asking, but that's my event. I have a high ticket coaching program, which I only take 10 people a year. It's a $40,000 offer, which is costing me about, I would say, $28 million to learn and years of experience. But it's a $40,000 offer. You get me on a one-on-one call. I help you literally dive into your business and grow your business and take it to the levels I have with multiple 2 Comma Club awards, 10X awards. You get all that knowledge and years of experience for that. And then I get to coach with you. So it's really fun.
That's very cool. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on here again with me and talk about this. Because if nothing else, what you've taught me over the last couple of years is how important accountability is. And you kind of mentioned it at the beginning that sometimes you don't like to call it accountability calls because of the stigma around that. But when you said that, there's one thing in your book that just came to mind, and it's there should never be fear or shame in accountability. And I think anyone that's listening to this, you know, really understand. And I think just from listening to this, you can realize how cool these groups are and how good they are. And it's not something that you get on with a fear because you have to be accountable. It's really a group of like-minded people that want to see each other succeed. And so anything else you want to add to what we've been talking about?
Biggest thing is, if you love Jeff and you love these podcasts, like Jeff, I've got to reach out to me and I'll give you a unique URL so that all your people can get a free 7-day trial for sure. They can get in it. If they don't like it, they don't have to stick. But if they do like it, we can get you some commissions to pay for being on the podcast and keep this going for all your all your people. And your people could really support helping you by being accountable and networking, and also helping me and helping themselves. And I think it's a win-win for everybody. So let's make sure we get you that affiliate link. And you guys, I mean that sincerely. Like I want Jeff to be successful with us, and I want you to be successful, because through podcasting and through all this, it takes a lot of work, it takes expense. You know, he can interview so many people, but he brought me back on. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you always playing full out. And that's one of my biggest statements in life is when we play full out, we win. When we go all in, we win. Action takers are money makers, and high energy equals high outcomes. And when you have high energy and you're a high outcome person, all these things add up to feeding the cows every single day. It's just a simple recipe that life takes just these steps. And so many times we chase so much knowledge, but not implementing it. And it's time to just implement, take that time and make it happen. And through your networking in the group, like I said, I think the call right now is just a little bit under $200 a month, right? If you do the math on that in a program like this, all you got to have is one client within the ecosystem that easily pays for that. And then you're benefiting, they're benefiting, everybody wins together. So there's multiple ways to win in it, but I encourage all of you to do it for yourself, not for anybody who leading the call, but literally get on the call for you to go to that next level, hold yourself accountable with the groups. And like I said, miracles will happen.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, look in the show notes for that link, or if you're looking at the blog on this, I'll just put a button right below this video.
That would be great.
But free 7 days, give it a shot, go see what it's like, learn about it and see what it's all about. All right. Well, thank you, Bart. Really appreciate it. And best of luck with everything.
I'll take it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Athletes put a lot of time, money, and effort into the physical aspect of their sport, but they often neglect the mental game. And the mental game, it's just as important as the physical. In fact, it's often the differentiating factor between good and great athletes. If you really want to reach your full potential, if you want to be a great athlete, you've got to pay attention to the mental game. Now, come and join us in the Confident Athlete program, where you're going to learn how to develop powerful mindset, extreme self-confidence, and really take your game to the next level. Come and check us out at confidentathleteprogram.com/membership. Are you ready to become the go-to expert in your industry? Take your business and your life to new heights? I'm Jeff Heggie, and I want to introduce you to the Entrepreneur Coaching Group. In the Entrepreneur Coaching Group, we're going to show you exactly how to do that. But just as important, in the Entrepreneur Coaching Group, you're going to mastermind with other like-minded high achievers that's going to help you to push yourself further, to hold you accountable, and to reach new heights. Come and check out the Entrepreneur Coaching Group at coachheggie.com/entrepreneur. Ogmandino said that the difference between those who have failed and those who have succeeded lies in the difference of their habits. Good habits are the keys to success. Many of the habits that will bring you success in life are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. I developed the Mindset Journal so that I could easily implement powerful success habits into my daily routine. The power of the Mindset Journal comes from knowing your top priorities and scheduling them into your day. The power of the reticular activating system and its relationship to your goals, your mindset questions, and your daily accountability. So if you want to implement some quick and effective success habits into your daily routine, go to jeffheggie.com/mindset journal and get yours today.